All right, everyone, welcome back from your little break. That was a great panel one. They did a great job. So much insight and value and information to be shared with all of you and everyone in the room. I neglect to do this sometimes, and I neglected to do it in the beginning. I'm Wendy Homer, and I'm the operating principal. Yay! So, yeah, that's who was introducing everyone. So I'm going to turn over panel 2 to Amber. We have some great agents and some great experts in luxury to continue our panel 2. Go on, Amber.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm back again. If you're just joining us, I'm Amber Noble with KW Philly, and you'll see the rest of you watch this later. But I'm so glad that Wendy and Frank Homer have invited me here. We have panel number 2, and this is all about them giving value to you through their stories, which they're going to share with us. We'll ask some general questions, and we're going to put a lot of focus on referrals in the luxury market and how you get those and how you lose them too. So first and foremost, we're going to do the old-fashioned ladies first. So we're going to start with this young lady over here, and this is Nadine LoCascio.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Nadine, tell us where you are from, what market center you're affiliated with, and just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am with Keller Williams Clinton. I have a satellite office for my small team in Flemington, and I've been in real estate about 14 years and just keep developing and growing and trying to learn so I can get better.
Awesome. What got you into luxury as one of your areas of focus?
It's just that some buyers were coming with higher price point purchases, and it just kind of happened, and then we started listing some luxury, and that was pretty much it. It's not our main focus though, but we could sell a farm that would be in that luxury price point, because I have a lot of farms by us. So
Well, farms are luxurious.
farms can be, well, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Listen, you got farms that are being turned into spas and retreats and Airbnbs.
Yeah.
So change how you look at things, and the things you look at will change, right?
We do a lot of vineyards, so that's
Boom.
some land that we just sold for a vineyard.
Yep. All right, awesome. All right, and the lovely lady next to you, we are going to hear from Denise Bennett. Denise, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I am Princeton Market Center and Bayside, New York. I am licensed in New York and New Jersey. I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn. I currently live in Plainsboro or Princeton Meadows, depending on which time of the year it is, I feel like. And I've lived there for almost 12 years. I have 3 kids, twins that are preschoolers, and I have a teenager.
You look like a teenager.
I have a 15-year-old. So I actually got into luxury kind of like Nadine, just having buyers that presented with a higher price point. You know, in New York, it was sphere of influence. I'm very newbie in the luxury market. I would just say that. Actually, even though I've been licensed for 8 years, I kind of just came back from maternity leave in the end of 2020. And I had, thank you, a couple of luxury sales over the last like 9 months in between New York and New Jersey. Sphere of influence, referral from a previous client, and I recently had a commercial under contract as well that I can speak to falling apart. You did mention that, but yeah, so that's really it so far.
So you were pregnant with twins and pregnant with luxury. You just gave birth to 2 things, right? So you're like really superwoman. 9 months and 9 months.
Yes,
I love
9 months. That's right.
There you go. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, clearly you're not pregnant. So next we have with us Tom Kennedy, who is sporting one of my favorite belts. And Tom, tell us about yourself and how you wound up in luxury.
Well, I was born in Yardley, been a Bucks County native pretty much my whole life. I did work up in lived in Bedminster, New Jersey, and Trenton for my past career, but got my license in 2017, so I just hit the 5-year mark pretty much, and most of my business is sphere and referral. Most of my luxury buyers and sellers are by referral. I just try to like sort of infiltrate networks where these people are, make friends with these people, and see where it goes. That's kind of how
I like the infiltration.
Yes.
Nice. All right, and from there, we are going to bounce it on over to Tom, Taranto. Tom, thanks for joining us virtually.
Thank you.
And we would love to hear about you and what your connection is to luxury.
Okay, so I started as an agent in 2004, but I got my first luxury listing in 2017. So I was actually, I'd already been doing real estate 13 years before I got my first luxury home listed. And my goal with that when I got it, it was through a person that I knew, a property manager that I went to broker's school with when I was getting my broker's license. She referred some friends of hers who were selling a roughly a $1.5 million house. And although it was absolutely my first one in that price range, obviously I didn't tell them that it was my very first one. It was just, she knew I was a good agent. She just in general knew I was a good agent. But so that was exciting because I kind of felt a little bit that, fake it till you make it. I was taking this luxury listing, and in our county, there's a handful of probably like maybe 10 to 15 agents that typically dominate all the luxury. So I was kind of breaking into this subdivision. It's actually one of the most luxurious subdivisions in our county. It's an island. And so my goal once I got it was to just maximize that very first listing the best that I could. So I still to this day use some photos and some things from having that listing. It was a beautiful house and we got tons of really beautiful photos from it. I did the Keller Williams Domain magazine at the time, and I did a Matterport. I already had a Matterport camera that I bought back in December of 2015. So I ended up doing a Matterport on that and as one of mine. And I also do it on all of my listings. So, and I do it with my own camera. So now I have about 250 homes stored in my my Matterport account. We did videos on it. And so essentially I tried to take that one listing and spread it to create as much collateral as I could for getting more listings, which did happen.
Wow, so you just gave us a mouthful there, talking about how you went from digital marketing to traditional terrestrial marketing to circle prospecting to multiplying that into exponential listings. Of those 250 or so Matterports, how many of them would you say percentage wise are actually luxury? So are they some non-luxury or are they all luxury?
No, that's so I'm probably like Sue, more like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. But because it's, on the cheaper homes, I think the reason people don't do a Matterport on any price point is just because it costs a chunk of money to have a photographer do it. But since we have the camera, so I did my own in the beginning, got my son to learn how to use the Matterport camera. And so we do it on any price point at this time.
Smart guy, child labor, I love it. Love it. Make sure you put it on your taxes too. So let's just kind of build on that. Tom just really touched on a lot of tools, which are really, really important because, technology being so accessible just to everybody. Sometimes our clients get in front of us, they're telling us about a house before we even see the house, right? Yeah. What technology are you using, Denise, in your business when you have a luxury client? If you have a luxury listing, what kind of technology would you be using?
Well, definitely Matterport. I use Matterport for all of my listings. I think because it draws a buyer online. It gets so much activity, and even the retail websites, will highlight it more because they know that the buyers are going to click on it more. But in general, just landing pages, for sure. I like the photographer that I use has a dedicated landing page for the Matterport, and you can put all of the property specs on it, things of that nature. So definitely, but also just just regular iPhone technology, using FaceTime for showings, making it as convenient as possible to show the home, having it be highly visible is, again, every listing, it's not even specific to luxury. Every listing, any listing that I have, I'm going to give it the same, marketing. I'm going to apply the same marketing strategy. It's just a little bit more detailed on the luxury side. Sure. And of course, a lot of social media. Social media is, high key. A lot of people that are willing to spend the money, they're online looking for the properties. They're online looking at the stats mediums that are out there and stuff like that, especially the millennials that are a little bit more free with their money and creative financial ideas on how to get the financing available for those properties.
Okay. Does anybody have any sort of technology that they use that is not sort of traditional or just I don't want to say a hack, but for lack of a better way of putting it, something that you're using to attract buyers and or sellers in your luxury business? What about you?
Well, a lot of times with luxury listings, most listings, especially if there's like an exterior, I'll do drone videos, and I love my guy, he's the best, I think. And I just clip those videos, put them in digital ads on social media, paid ads and stuff like that. And I've gotten quite a bit of response. I've gotten luxury buyers from that myself. I've sold houses that way. I think the engagement with videos on social media, especially now, is extremely high.
It's
like
mandatory.
Instagram and social media, Instagram and Facebook, they don't want to see pictures anymore. It's all video.
Right.
So it doesn't place well. But
Sure.
if you do an ad that's video instead of an ad that's just a couple pictures, you're going to perform it.
Yeah, good point. I like the fact that you use the drone and, and we don't have to be apologetic that we do it for everything because this is a very niche conversation. We're talking about luxury.
Yeah,
So
I don't do drone shots for townhouses.
Right. Not happening. Okay, so you're using drone. You think that social media is really high key. We already know that Tom is pulling out. Taranto is pulling out all the stops. What about you? Now you are down in Florida, right? In Melbourne, is that right, Tom?
Yes, correct.
Tell us where proximity wise, like where is that? In relation to the Keys and or Miami.
Okay, so if you know where the rockets are getting sent up from, that's my county. We see the rockets. Yeah, we call it the Space Coast, Brevard County. So basically everything just a little bit north and south of the Kennedy Space Center.
So is it a noisy? Is Melbourne a noisy part of Florida?
It's relatively low density. I mean, we're about an hour directly east of Orlando. And but the entire county is only about 500,000-600,000 people. So it's not a super crowded area because it's a long, skinny county.
So is it coastal at all, or is it more terrain?
It's all coast basically. So it's oceanfront, and then we have a river, the Intracoastal. So you've got actually three coasts because you've got the mainland coast of the river, the beach side, the island with its western side, and then the actual Atlantic Ocean.
So up here in PA and Jersey, we get a lot of people call them snowbirds, right? They might spend 6 months here up north and then the other 6 months down here. I imagine that you probably get a lot of referrals from folks up north.
Absolutely, yes. A lot of people are snowbirds.
Talk to us about that. Talk to us about how that's played into your development of your luxury third of your business.
Yeah, I mean, actually, my most recent purchase was a Bayside of luxury, and it was a couple from New Jersey, had very successful. They originally had purchased a condo about 5-6 years ago, and they outgrew it, and then they wanted to sell that condo and buy an oceanfront house, and they were snowbirds from New Jersey, so they essentially. It's exactly what they did. They paid cash for an oceanfront house and sold the oceanfront condo, and so the house was 2.2 million, and the condo that we sold was 750. So that's an example of somebody who doesn't even live here. It's a second home for them.
Got it. And in your luxury conversations with your clients, do you talk about, or are you familiar with any benefits, of them being a second home? That seems like that's a niche for you, right? Second home market?
It can be, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of times they know themselves, like what their game plan is. In many cases, the second home down here in Florida is where they plan to retire eventually, but they're just not ready yet. They're still going back and forth. Like in this case, this is where they're going to land when they finally do retire.
For you, so I know, Nadine, like you are sort of growing in your mind into the whole luxury space, because by default you kind of wound into it, because everything in New Jersey is so high, is a higher price point, not so high, but a higher price point. So by default we fall into luxury in certain cases. How are you taking any of those listings or buyers that would be deemed in a luxury price point? How are you taking that and turning it into more business for yourself? More of the same type of business.
More of the same type of business. Well, generally just by sending out that we've sold it, or we'll send out postcards. I mean, we might farm something. We've done that in areas.
Oh my God.
And obviously I ask for referrals, because you're always doing that. And a lot of times it does lead to it, where you've sold somebody something, or you've listed something and they're selling you their friends, and it's really great. It works out very well. So we do the best we can for these people so that they want to come back to us soon for more.
Got it. And how about Newtown? What are you doing to just double down and really have your closed sales work for you more than luxury in terms of getting more business?
Well, I always ask for a review, so them going through the process of actually reliving the transaction from start to finish, when you did a really good job, and then actually putting it and writing it in, it just makes them feel that much more appreciative, and then it's a great time to thank them for the review again, and then ask for a referral. I do some, like, if anybody who's interested in fantasy football, I do like a survivor pool for my past clients, I do $1,000 just to keep them engaged and stuff like that. Just when I call them to let them know the email's coming, it's just a good opportunity to, like, see where the conversation goes. I mean, I generally don't even bring up real estate or anything like that. I just naturally, they will ask me how business is going. From there on, great. I mean, it's all pretty organic, and I think that they don't hire me necessarily. I mean, I would hope they hire me because they know I'm a great agent, but they're also hiring me because they like me as a person.
Sure.
And I think that personal connection is huge. If you can be friends with all of your clients, and friends with friends of mine. So I'm friends with all my clients. I love them all.
Right. You really love them all. That's because on camera. All right. So one of the things I said earlier was I was so excited. I'm earned in luxury, KW luxury, for those who know what that is. That was something I was really looking forward to. But I also know it wasn't easy. So it's not easy just to get somebody to give you a $3,950,000 sale, which is what was with my fourth unit to get me in. What are you doing to put yourself in a position to get folks to look at you as luxury? Because sometimes people have a notion of who you are because they see you doing a certain type of business. Is there anything in particular any of you have done, Tom, to help you scale, as Sue Adler said earlier? Anything intentional? Did you join certain groups? Did you, buy a certain handbag? Did you buy a certain car? Did you join a certain club? Like, let's really go behind the curtain here. I want everybody to chime in on that.
So I have something that has worked surprisingly well for me. So as I told you about, I'd already been an agent for 13 years, did my first luxury in 2017. But I made it I was very intentional at the time. I mean, as soon as I qualified, I back when I started, you had to pay to be a member of Keller Williams Luxury. I was a member of luxury. When I went to family reunion and mega camp, that was the booths, that was the breakouts I went to. If there was a luxury, I wouldn't care about the listing presentation or anything. It's always luxury, and listening, because I wanted to kind of get into that subject as much as I could. And I would like, if I knew about your mastermind today, I would have been on it, because even if I wasn't speaking, because I wanted to hear, like, what are people doing? How do I get into this? So I had gotten a few of them, but I ended up mentioning I would conduct a class on a regular basis. I still conduct classes at the Market Center. And every time I conducted a class, I did the listing presentation as a part of Ignite. And I would always mention to what was typically pretty new agents that, just a side note, if you ever come across a listing that you feel is, in a price range that you're not comfortable with, and you're not comfortable, you might even get the listing. It could be a $1 million property that you're standing in front of and you're going to set up an appointment, then I'm more than happy to co-list. And I would just say that as a part of all of these trainings. And since I started doing that, I've had over 6 different agents bring extremely high price listings. Some of them are brand new agents, but they knew this person who was selling a $1 million house. And I co-listed with these agents and ended up selling it. And the cool part about it is that I had another agent who's been an agent a long time, but he never had any luxury experience. And it was kind of a decision based on the person he was dealing with that, he doesn't do luxury. And they were leaning towards one of these well-known luxury teams in our county. And I got to go on the interview. I was going to co-list it with the guy in our office. And so I always do the Domain magazine whenever I have a luxury listing. Now it's the Keller Williams Luxury magazine. It's very affordable marketing, but you end up getting the extra 25 copies, or you can even get the 100 some copies. So I had all the Domain and Keller Williams Luxury magazines, and I have the luxury badge, which is my name tag with the luxury logo. And just simply sitting there with this client, she looks up and sees that, all of these magazines are properties that I've had a part in selling, all of these luxury houses, and seeing the name that says luxury on the badge. She basically just looked up and said, all right, good. You guys are good. You know luxury. And again, it was this other agent's client. So I'm pretty excited about that. Just mentioning it at classes, to have 6 different luxury listings, co-listing. And the part that I'm kind of proud of is that other agent, doesn't have to call me next time. They feel more confident that they can go after a listing at some point on their own. But I got them in the door when they probably would not have gotten the listing if they hadn't co-listed with me, who had more experience at the time.
You really gave us like a chock full of information and insight with these. I really want to kind of dive into that just a little bit more, Tom. So as I understood what you said, you have either a more junior agent or agent who might not be junior, they just don't have the luxury experience. And is the dialogue something like, hey, my partner, Tom, right, Taranto, he focuses on the luxury side of our partnership, right?
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. And even though you're going to be the luxury agent with the expertise, they're not now losing the business because they couldn't figure it out and didn't have the resume. They're essentially utilizing your expertise and your years of experience and your listing down.
Correct. So it's people that aren't on my team, but they basically just said, I'm going to bring my colleague to meet with you. And, we don't make such a big deal about our relationship. We're just co-listing it. And when I need to take the lead, if they start asking questions, because the hard question is, how many houses in this price range have you sold? And if that question comes up and the agent is being honest and says 0, that could be a very short listing presentation. So just bringing me along and being able to show and have more credibility, and that, like someone mentioned in the previous panel, having that confidence, having a marketing plan of things that have worked, having stories of properties that were higher priced than yours, then it feels a little bit like, okay, you're qualified to handle my property. So yes, it's worked well. And I just appreciate that these agents think enough of me to include me, and I'm happy that they got even though they maybe had to split the commission with me, but that we were able to do it. And in many cases, I knew that they probably wouldn't have gotten it if they had just tried to go after that listing on their own.
Got it. That's really helpful. You also said something else. You answered my question about were there any things that you had done intentionally. You said, you talked about messaging. You also said you wear your name tag. You
Yep.
also said, and we know traditional print marketing is probably not the thing to do, but with luxury, you are putting it in the KW Luxury Magazine, which used to be called Domain.
Yes.
You're very deliberate about these things. Is there anything else subliminally that you're doing to attract that luxury opportunities to you?
Yeah, we do. Because having had a lot of luxury properties, and our marketing budget is higher, so we do the full feature video on the luxury properties. We do more photos than you would on a typical property. So we have a lot of collateral from these are my photos, these are my drones, these are my videos, and so we use those a lot of times to kind of set the tone for our marketing. So, if you're showing properties at 1.5 million in your Facebook ads and in your website, people knowing that you sold that, it makes it easier on the $500,000 listing appointment because they've seen that, yes, I can handle your $500,000 house because they've seen a level. I mean, the flip side of that is you have to make sure that because I have a team with 9 people, that we don't want people to think we only do luxury. And that's part of that messaging, that I don't want to scare away, my cousin who's buying a $300,000 house. So that's the challenge, is to make the messaging clear that we can handle any price point, but we're not going to neglect a lower price point because it's too cheap for us. We will handle, the range of our current market.
Got it. Denise, what's something, is there anything that you've done in terms of you trying to build out your luxury profile that you're like, man, I wish I would have done that, or I would have done it differently? Anything you just didn't know any better? No.
Anything that I wish I hadn't,
Or any of you, actually, if you think about it, like, man, I wasted money on that. I threw so much money that it didn't pan out, or I tried this shiny object, or I
would
said
say-
this thing and somebody got turned off.
just, not, I don't know. No, I really haven't. I mean, my marketing and branding, I do marketing and branding just for the business, my business in general. I definitely included, components of my certifications and stuff like that. But I don't think it was a waste of money because I've definitely seen business from it, even if it hasn't been luxury specific. I've definitely seen the value from it.
So I'll give an example. When I first left my career, I was an executive in the music industry and radio, and I didn't know anybody in Central Jersey, in the Marlboro area. So one of the things I did was I put big billboards on the highway because I was like, I don't have any friends up here. I'm from Philly. I don't know these people. They don't know me. And I needed to make a big splash. And that's what I did. I marketed Jay-Z for a living, so I could market myself like I'm a big time celebrity. And it actually did work eventually, right? Because I go into the grocery store, you're the real estate lady. I know you. But it didn't necessarily translate right away. So I did it for about 7 years to the tune of several thousands of dollars. And I wasn't trying to do it for luxury per se, but it was an investment. So have any one of you done anything, made any investment with luxury in mind, or trying to scale your business to attract a higher price point clients? And we're just like, I spent too much money on that. I should have cut the cord on that. Have you ever been at an event or somewhere in that sort of circle and just didn't kind of know how things move?
I feel like with Zillow leads, Zillow Premier, I feel like it, I'm not gonna say it wasn't really worth it, because I feel like one of the areas that I selected was just a bad choice. It was very aspirational. I've been trying to build out my business in New York, and it was in Brooklyn, New York specifically, and it was a big investment to get into that area, and it was just unrealistic. Like, for me to show buyers there, like every listing that I showed there was, at least $1.2 million. So you go in it go into it very excited and high hopes. And, you know, with the luxury buyers, they are a different type of buyer. It's a nurturing type of process with them in many cases. And with, you know, Zillow, they have no, you have no real rapport with them. It's harder to build a rapport. It's harder to make them your clients,
Right.
you know? So I would say Zillow in that regard wasn't a very good investment for me. But, and then, you know, I look at Zillow as well for the New Jersey area and certain parts of New Jersey. And I do feel like it's valuable, but in that specific area, so.
So Zillow is probably not the place where you want to date the $1 million, because would you say?
Unless it's in your backyard,
Right.
you know,
Right.
unless it's in, because it's expensive in itself, you know, it's very expensive in itself to subscribe to the Premier service. If you're going far and wide to show the properties, it just becomes more and more costly, and you have a lower likelihood of converting them because you don't have that rapport.
Got it. So let's talk about lead gen. Let's talk about sources for potentially connecting with those higher price point buyers that may fall into luxury by default or be deliberately luxury. Where have you found, Tom, that your lead generational sources are for higher price point luxury buyers?
Yeah, so that's referral, and I think they do a good job with that because I'm actively growing my sphere of people who are wealthy people. You know, so I joined the country club. I've worked with that country club for 6 years, so I walked into it with a lot of connections already. Joined the country club, and I've been there for 4 years now. So these people know me already, and guess what? I have their address. They're receiving mailers now. They're on my distribution list for my magazine that goes out monthly, things like that. So that's how really just staying top of mind with those people creates referrals. You know, I don't necessarily have to ask for them. Yeah, I mean, just growing my sphere that way. I don't spend a lot of money on leads. Like, I don't buy leads. I never did. I did spend some money on digital optimization and like GoDaddy Social and a company called Trailhead Marketing. I spent some money with. I'm more of a fan of spending money on services than like you're not going to buy leads. They're selling them, you know, so only one person gets the money. So services like Land Voice or something like that, or Mojo, like those are where I would spend my money when I was going through the prospect.
Got it. So it's more mano a mano. They're not in the pool. You kind of connect with them and work your.
I don't expect anybody to dump a lead on me and say, oh, here you go. I just don't put a lot of weight in that. I think that the personal referral to someone who's worked with you and knows them personally, it's going to be so much more impactful, and my conversion rate is going to be so much higher. I'm not going to have to run, and they won't have as much trouble signing a contract with me. Like, because nobody wants to waste their time. There's a lot of time wasters. So they don't have any, you know, owe you anything or feel like I'm going to say something to their friend if they don't like, if they do me dirty, you know, like. So like they're more invested. They're more invested when they have been referred to.
Sure. So the likelihood that they're going to get to know you, get to like you, get to trust you, coming through a person they already know, like, and hopefully they trust, is greater than you just some random.
There's less chance they're going to waste my time.
Got it. And time is money. Yours and theirs. All right, so let's talk about more lead generation opportunities. I've heard often that client appreciation events is really big, not only just generally speaking, but in a luxury space, that's a really good source of lead gen. Do you have any experience doing any client appreciation events in general?
I have not done that. I was going to say Zillow was actually good for us in getting luxury stuff. So I was hoping that question was going to come. I've not done the appreciation thing.
Well, we're going to bring client appreciation to Taranto in Florida, and then we're going to come up. But before we do that, let's let you build on your Zillow opinion.
So I was going to say Zillow has been great for us as far as getting luxury purchasers and listers, because they would buy high-end and then be selling high-end. That's been great. And also too, I was gonna say a good thing for us has been, besides our sphere, it's the state attorneys are great, or they give us some good stuff. And believe it or not, we got something from a property manager that was a 2 million plus property. And it was one of the girls on my team knew him, and she was a brand new agent, but they hired us because I had experience, not necessarily luxury, but you know, still I was a seasoned agent. So, and we've tried all that stuff too, done, what is it, Unique, and we do the video, I like the narrated video. I'm not a fan of the Matterport just because I don't know how to use it.
Do you like narrate? Some people don't like the sound of their own voice.
I don't narrate it. We hire somebody for that.
Yeah.
So our photographer does it.
Do you see any value? Do any of you see any value in doing your own narration? Just getting people kind of familiar with your personality, your cadence, how you talk. Any thoughts on that?
I see that picking up a lot more on the socials. Like, people are gravitating to more organic, content now. They like to hear the person's voice. They really want to get to know you. Like, they like all the, snazzy effects and, like a YouTube video. They like that too, but in like 8-second, 15-second clips. But the people that are really looking are spending time, like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, looking at these videos online. They're listening to the people, and those are the people that actually are spending the money. The people that's into the, the Matterport and the drone and all that fun music are usually the kids that are just like scrolling.
So essentially what you're saying is that people want to buy into the whole package of you. Are some of the clients, I think that's in general with clients, but do you find that some of maybe the higher price point clients are kind of checking you out? They want to see your tie and looking out. I'm checking out his belt buckle over here. I want to see Thomas. Do you have the luxury L socks? You got some Louis Vuitton socks on.
Well, I don't know. I feel like in different areas.
Right.
Yeah, different areas. Like, if you're in a more urban market, then yes, that's what they're gonna look for. But the higher end of Gen X and the boomers and the people that are looking, they're not.
So when you say urban, you mean like a big city type market?
Big city type markets, the millennials, the Gen X, down the line Gen X. Those are the people that are,
You have to know your client.
Cocktails
right?
on the rooftop.
I know that my clients are young professionals, for the most part, not all of them. We do estates as well. State attorneys are great sources for listings, but so it's 3 to 6 months of marriage. So they have to be able to relate to you, and you have to be able to talk to them the way they want to be talked to, and sort of where they want to be talked to. Some people like Facebook Messenger, text, cell phone, email, and they'll tell you how they want to be communicated.
That's one of the first
survey
questions.
how they're communicating.
Yeah, because Nadine Samatov said that earlier. She was like, that's why I have Jill, because Jill speaks millennial speak, and she was targeted. I don't like we're targeted. She was focusing on you. She had her eye on you. But you're right though. So you got to meet people where they are in life and in business.
Yeah.
And that's what what you're saying, it sounds like, is that just even whether it's fashion or being able to engage with them on just things they're into, technology, you got an Apple Watch on, somebody might be sporting a Rollie, somebody might be sporting something from Walmart, wherever your client is, you want to be able to relate to them in different ways.
Right, and you can do that with your message too. Like I'm very active on social media. My message is always gratitude, golf, and wine, and real estate.
Nice.
That's really all of my content. But I have a little group of people who are always engaging and I'm in touch with regularly, and that's my spirit.
I love that you led with gratitude, first of all, right? So I love that. And I love that you also are leading with, as part of your brand messaging, something that you love to do recreationally. Are you a professional golfer?
No, I worked in golf for 9 years.
At the country club. Okay. So, and then wine. You're a sommelier?
My wife sells wine. I love wine too much.
Okay. But you just checked off some key boxes, right? So, I mean, those are things that,
It makes you relatable.
yes.
And even if you haven't met the person yet, people feel like they know.
I felt like I could gratitude block.
And real estate.
So, Tom, back to you. In these client appreciation events, you look like you had something to offer us. Tell us about how you may have used those or intend to use those in your business in general, but specifically as it relates to luxury.
Okay, so yes, we do them. We've done them pretty consistently. During COVID, we were doing kind of giveaways. We would have a Amazon gift card giveaway. People had to call in, and then our most recent event was when we opened our satellite office. My team opened a mega agent office in Indian Harbor Beach, so separate from the market center. And the main benefit of it was just a pretty cool event in general, and we invited everybody. But it's just a great excuse to call everybody. That's the main benefit of the invitable events, is just gives you a reason to call everybody. On the note of marketing, I have to say that referral networks are something huge, and I talk about it all the time. I talk about it to my team, talk about it to all the agents I meet, and yet the reality is there's a small percentage that are actually members of a BNI or a chamber referral network or anything like that. But if I look back over 18 years in the business, a huge percentage of my my business and the luxury that I've gotten was from somebody who referred me from one of these networking events. So I attend 2 different networking events right now that are one at the chamber. We meet twice a month, and another one that I conduct. It's a nonprofit, and we meet once a month. The one that and I'm met real estate attorneys, estate planning attorneys. One of my biggest clients that was a great referral I met at BNI when I used to be a member of BNI. So that's something I feel like is a very strong marketing thing. I can say that postcards and things like that for luxury houses, I would not put a lot of money into it. I checked the mail for one of the luxury houses that I sold, and I checked the mail because the guy, he lives in Sweden, and I'm just getting the mail for him. And it's stacks and stacks of postcards and and advertising from all these agents. And what do you think I do with it? I mean, I may look at it, but it's going in the trash. And so and those people are targeted by all the agents in town. I'm sure most of them are just throwing it in the trash. So that's not a great use of your money, in my opinion.
Wait a minute, that's a federal offense. I'm kidding. I do the same thing. I'm kidding. But no, you made a great point, and it actually just leads us to my next question is, so we talked about what works, and you just touched on what doesn't work. What else do you think, aside from, and I think there is some value in a direct mail for luxury depending on how it's done, but what do you think is just, Tom, an absolute, like, you're just throwing your money away when it comes to that? Or better yet, let's take it a step further. Let us into the mind of like the average luxury buyer. Like, how can you really connect with them in a way that we haven't talked about?
So I think that every experienced listing agent knows that a lot of the marketing that we do as a listing agent, even a good chunk of our marketing plan, is just to impress the seller themselves. It's not how properties actually sell. And I mean, even the Keller Williams Luxury Magazine and the Domain Magazine, 90% of the time that property is sold by the time the thing even comes out. It only comes out every quarter. So obviously the magazine wasn't how the house sold, and has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how I'm going to get my next listing and establishing kind of a baseline. So I think in general, my biggest experience is like print magazines. Print advertising has been a pretty big waste of money in the past, and that's not the reason I do the luxury magazines. I do the luxury magazines to be able to have fresh stack to show anybody because it establishes credibility without saying a word. But as far as thinking you're going to get a buyer out of it, I use tracking numbers. So I have 7 tracking numbers, and I use different ones on different advertising to see if anybody actually called from specific ads. So I might do an ad and spend hundreds of dollars and get 0 phone calls. And it helps in the conversation with the person selling the advertising, because they're like, hey, your business is doing great, so it must be because of my magazine. And it's like, well, I know for a fact I got 0 phone calls, so it's obviously not working.
Got it. Okay, that's really, really helpful.
It's like the shop right now.
Yeah, so, right. What you mean? You don't like being in ShopRite, you want to be in Wegmans instead?
But you know where it works? At the listing appointment, when you're like, I'm in ShopRite, right?
How embarrassing
No
is it
buyer.
to get your card with your picture?
It's not in
It's at the
Paris.
checkout. It's the video at the checkout.
Okay.
Maybe we're gonna work on, yes. Everybody wants to be on a grocery store shopping cart. What are you talking about?
I did it.
That's
I
my,
was-
I did too. It was my life's ambition. All right, so let's think positive. Let's think positive. We're gonna have our party words. I want to come to you, not first. So I want everybody to think about just anything that we want to kind of leave this conversation with, and the folks that are here, and the folks, many folks are going to be watching this. What do we want them to know about luxury from your perspective down in Melbourne, where they need to come and retire and move to Thomas, and they need to come and call you? What do you want them to know about luxury from your vantage point?
So I had a couple of like suggestions. Something that I developed was a pre-listing package email. And like I was saying about the Domain magazine and the Keller Williams Luxury magazine and the Matter reports and the videos, is it's building up a content database. So I use BombBomb, which is a video email system. And so part of my pre-listing package, and I'll tweak it for every person I'm sending it to, is a video. Could be a personalized video to that person, but I'll have 30 links underneath it. So I'll have 10 links to different Matterports of the most luxurious properties that I've done, 10 links to different magazine ads, like full page magazine ads, and 10 links to our videos so they can click on it. So essentially showing 30 different clicks that they could click on to get a flavor for what we do to market properties. And I'm hoping that between a personal video and 30 links with some good looking stuff, that they feel like this is a little different than the other guy who just, gave me a piece of paper.
Nice. Anything else you want to share with us about getting, let's say, more luxury referrals from, folks in Florida or folks up north or somewhere in the middle?
Well, I've found that people who are going and giving referrals, I think a lot of times on the opportunity, the referrals website inside of Command, they do look at production. So I fortunately am at the top of my market center. And so I end up getting a lot of good referrals, I think, because if agents are like me, a lot of times they look for the higher production agents in order to, that's who they're going to call. And it's not cool for the people who have the lower production. It's just the way it is. We look at real numbers and we refer that way. I also made a Google business page for my business. It was one of my Google business pages, and I didn't brand it to myself. This is a little sneaky, so I don't know if anyone from my market center is on here, but I just said Keller Williams Brevard and made a Google business page. So I get a lot of people calling because it's Keller Williams Brevard and they think it's the market center. I just didn't put my name on it. That's all.
He's not my market.
You're trying to get us on.
Don't do that in my market center. But a little tip that I got was go after luxury expireds. And now that now that it's more comfortable to do that, we have a part in our schedule where we will actually make a list on Friday mornings and go after a luxury expired, which is actually go to the house. And we do this for luxury, the highest end leads that haven't answered the phone. So we actually make a route and actually go and have, some collateral ready and go knock on their door, because, finally it feels like we're not really, because of COVID, we were holding back on that a lot, but now I feel more comfortable that it's okay. We'll go, and just knock on the door and see if we can get the person who wasn't answering.
I don't like the word aggressive. It's just a trigger for me, but I love the word assertive and I love take charge. And I really love, Tom, and really appreciate, in all seriousness, you really take charge of your business and you're not afraid to, roll up your sleeves and get busy. And I think even at your level, that's important, like kind of like what got you here may not get you there, but I don't necessarily agree with that, because sometimes what got you where you are will get you to the next place, but we abandon the things that made us hot and made us successful because we think we're above it sometimes. So I just love your mindset.
Thank you.
And your take actionist. And if I can get anybody to come down there, I'm calling.
Thank you. My phone number's in the chat.
Yes, I'm gonna say that. Make sure you put your phone number in the chat. Who wants to go next? What are our parting words? Who has something they want to leave us with and want us to know?
Yeah, I'll say, so like, obviously leads are the centerpiece of our business, right? And luxury leads are great, but my focus is more on luxury contacts because they talk, and I'm looking for referrals, not one deal. I'm looking for 5 or 10 referrals from one family, 2 families, 3 families. And then it'll just spread organically. So, getting in front of these people is paramount. Like seeing them where they are comfortable, being seen as one of them is extremely important. And once you get in front of them and once you get in conversation with these people, you need to impress them. Like they need to be impressed by you. It's not just like you treat it like a listening appointment in these conversations, because you don't necessarily have to talk about real estate, but you have to think about who these people are. They're self-employed, they're business owners, they're investors, or they're bigwigs at these companies, and you need to speak their language. They don't want to talk about people with drama. It's like small-minded things. They want to talk about money, investments, opportunities, the market, like whatever. But you just got to be like.
You want to talk about golf?
Yeah, sure. That's where I talk to a lot of them. So you have to be relatable to them, So.
You just said a mouthful. You said a mouthful.
I mean, I just think it's important because, like, we're always hunting for leads, right? Leads. Make the call, try to convert the appointment. That's great, but like, just organically growing your sphere, you can choose which markets you work in. You just have to be patient, and you have to be consistent. You have to show your face, and you have to like focus on self-development so that you can become that impressive person that you want to be.
Said a mouthful. So one of the things that I gathered from this too is like, it's not everybody was born. I don't want to say with a silver spoon. That's kind of like old school, but everybody wasn't born wealthy. A lot of us were born with modest means, but where we start is not going to always be where we finish in life or in real estate. And so, how would you? Because you said you grew up in Yardley, right?
I was born in Yardley.
Born in Yardley. Okay. Yardley's one of the nicer places, one of my favorite places in the world.
Tiny little town.
Yeah. Yeah, but
parents struggled my whole life.
Yep. So, here. But with that being said, what advice would you give to a person who is defeating themselves because they think they don't come from luxury, that they're not worthy? Like there's part of them that wants it, but they think that's not ascribed for me, because I'm from Northeast Philly and we got row houses and you know what I mean, and twins, or I'm from Germantown, or I'm from Dayton, or I'm from wherever.
I think that's a trap that a lot of people get caught up into. They want to work in it. They're comfortable dying in your comfort zone. You're not going to grow in your comfort zone. So man up and start believing in yourself. And do whatever you have to do. Like I wake up early every morning and I'm plugged in. I brainwashed myself 6 years ago into becoming positive. So I was a negative person, a dead end job, and hated it. So it's only 6 years removed from that point.
So change how you look at things. The thing you look at will change. You change your mind and you made a decision. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and be very aware of the inputs. What you're putting into your brain.
You say it louder.
Yeah. Be very aware of your inputs. Because like if you put positivity into your brain, into your being, it Yeah, if you put confidence and power in, it'll come in eventually, not right away.
So whatever we're consuming, whether it's food, news, gossip, drama, positivity, empowerment, whatever it is, that's our input determines our output. Is that what you're?
100%. And like you'll realize when you start doing it long enough how much negativity is coming. And then you put up walls.
And you're saying nobody really, most people don't want to deal with that kind of foolishness, but you're definitely saying as it relates to luxury buyers and sellers, they ain't got time for that.
Well, yeah, but for your own general happiness.
Right.
I suggest you do that.
Yeah. Make it a habit. Thank you. Nadine, we need some sage parting words from you and what you want us to know about.
What do you want? What you should know is that I think personally, I mean, we don't just do luxury. We've done commercial. Some of our price points are really low. I personally think if you're doing luxury, it's just another zero. You know, it's just more rooms. It just might have an indoor pool. You know, you just kind of have to wrap your head around that. But people are people, and when you're working with buyers or sellers, whether they're looking for a $200,000 house or a $2 million house, it's going to depend on level of service. They want to be heard. They want to know that you're listening when they're speaking to you. So if they're saying something, I had a person recently who's now done 3 or 4 properties with me, and I came to find out over the transactions, he was working with 2 high-end agents prior to me, and I said, I got to a point where I found that out, and I said, I feel so honored that you're still working with me, or that you're working with me. And he said, you're the only one who listened. He said, you listened to what I wanted. So I think no matter what kind of listing appointment, again, whether it's a smaller house or a condo or a $2 million, $3 million home, you just have to understand what they're looking for and what they want. And if you do have the opportunity to see a previous listing, see what was wrong with it, because that's a big thing too. We had something that we were, I'm not going to say lucky, we did it purposely. We sold it very quickly. The other agent prior to us had the house staged incorrectly, and we had the seller stage it properly, and we put the money into the advertising, and we sold it within like 2 months. And she had it on the market for 4 years. So sometimes it's just looking at, you know, having that, if you're lucky enough to see what someone else maybe did wrong, that helps too. So just keep your eyes open on something. Learn. Right?
Right.
So I think what you could do. Yeah.
Very good. And my dear Denise, what would be your parting words that you want us to know, anything about your business, and also specifically to those aspiring agents? What do you want that that mom, right, who is entering back into her real estate business, who's ready to crush it like you did, or even that dad who took some paternity leave, who's trying to do luxury? What advice can you give them?
Well, segueing from you, from the educational component, just educate yourself, like consistently, continually educate yourself. I, you know, have sold a bunch of stuff and luxury, schmuxury classification. It actually meant a lot to me a year ago, a lot more to me a year ago than it means now. But what I did to get myself the assurance that I was really qualified, even though I knew that I had the qualifications and experience to serve a luxury buyer or seller, I felt the need to go and get my certification to have that, you know, because I'm new in luxury, I wanted to have that component to support my qualifications. So I feel like education is key. You have to know a lot more than just the numbers in terms of serving a luxury buyer or seller. You have to, you know, you really have to know the dynamics of the area. You have to know the you know, the client in themselves, what their interests are. A lot of it is mirroring, getting them to, you know, trust you, and that's by listening closely, but also just educating yourself like on the area and their goals and aspirations. I feel like, you know, a lot of what we spoke about in terms of technology and things of that are very, very helpful, but I feel like it just all goes back to the rapport. Just really listening, educating yourself will win win the buyer, the seller every time. Just like you were saying, I went on a listing appointment a week and a half ago with someone that said that they had listed previously with this big firm and they never wanted to work with a team type of situation again because of how their listing was handled. And, you know, I was happy that we had that conversation before we had it on the pre-listing phone call. But I was happy that I had that information beforehand because I would have went through the door talking about my team and support staff and coordinator service and buyer showers and all of that stuff. If I had taken the time to have that conversation to educate myself on their experience and what their goals were for their specific sale. In terms of me in general, I'm licensed in New York and New Jersey. So if you guys have anyone that's looking to, you know, move to New Jersey, I go all over. I have access to, I think I'm at like 6 MLSs here. Right. I do listings in Newark. I have sales in Monroe, all over. So I'm all over. So I'm here to help if need be. And I do the tri-state area in New York.
Awesome. 2 things I gathered from what you said is, one, never assume anything. Always do your homework before you go into with any client in particular. But again, we're talking about luxury, so you got to be double probably on top of things, because that higher price point buyer, you know, what was that old school commercial? I'm dating myself. How do you think I got so rich? You know what I'm talking about, right? And what was it? I don't know. Anywho, but you get what I'm saying. They didn't get there and get all this money for nothing. They're probably shrewd. They may be savvy, unless they inherited and they like as, you know, smart as a rock. But they probably are more discerning. So you have to have the discernment to ask questions before you go in. Because to your point, had you gone in with your highfalutin team and blah, 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 then that could have been a turnoff. Now, you could also say, I have a team, but I want to reassure you that you're going to get the personal touch from me because I'm the rainmaker of the team, and you're going to get that service, because they might want to talk to Nadine, you know, and Jill is clearly competent, but some people want to talk to Denise and not, you know, all of Denise's folks. So that was a real gem that you gave us here, is doing your homework. The other thing I love that Denise just did, in any aspect of business, but particularly in luxury, she asked for the business. She just asked for the business. She took the opportunity in this room to say, hey, this is where I am. This is the service I can give you. This is where I can help you. And so now all of us in this room and everybody on there know that Denise and Tom asked for business. He slid his business cards everywhere, so we all know. and this Nadine right here, she's not letting you out the door without asking for business. So, in all seriousness, it has been great. I thank you so much for this opportunity. This is a blessing. I'm grateful to Wendy and to Frank for seeing me. Thank you for seeing me as Usher, you know, seeing me.
You've been great. You've been awesome. Made this very easy for us panel newbies.
So appreciate the opportunity, and you know, for everybody here watching, just take everything that you saw today and apply it, because even though I'm the facilitator, I got so much from this myself.
We got a lot from you, Amber. Thank you. Thank you. Great panel. Panel 2 was excellent. Shout out to Tom coming from Florida, and shout out to your OP, Stacy. I love her. She's my coach. So just special shout out to Melbourne. So I do want to thank all of you on panel 2 for being with us today. I appreciate everything that you contributed. We all do. Thank you to panel 1. I know Sue Adler had to hop off, but we do appreciate everyone on panel 1. I know we're kind of short on time, but did anyone have any questions in the chat box, Nicole, or anyone in the room?
Questions in the chat box?
No questions in the chat box.
Any feedback in the chat box? Anything you want Wendy and Frank to bring you next?
Yeah, feedback is also welcome.
Make
Anyone
sure
in the room?
everybody saves Tom's info.
Yeah, save Tom's info.
Did that come from Tom?
Yes.
Of course it did.
He sent it right when he logged in at 12:01.
That's right, Tom.
He was on top of it.
Anyone in the room have questions? Okay,
Michelle put her info in there, Michelle Morales, she's still
Yes.
hanging on to you guys.
excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining our Luxury Agent Mastermind. I appreciate the Luxury Task Force from Keller Williams Princeton and all the staff here for their efforts in putting this together. And thank you for your attendance, and we hope to do this in the future again. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So that's what I use.